Catcher glove, slow to first, and Homer failing for the second time in his major league career. Has tossed the no-hitter. Oh, gosh. Oh, are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
Getting off to a little rocky start there. Nick paused his webcam, it looks like. So when he jumps back in, he'll be back to watch the rest of this. I am hopeful that we figure this out, fellas. If not, I don't know where to go from here. I don't know what to say to you. Not sure how to help. Not sure I'm going to be much of a help tonight, but maybe we'll mourn together. I'm just currently trying to figure out where I'm going to hold my phone to watch the end of this game. It just stinks because I don't know if the bullpen's as bad as it's been, but it's going to be the talking point. Not that it shouldn't be, but it's going to be. I'm streaming the game, so if you have cable, you're probably, I don't know, every bit of, I don't know, a little ways ahead of me. Just going to roll with it, boys. It is what it is. No turning back now. Nick's camera might have died too. These things are just like, I don't know what's up with them. I have to make sure they're fully. I'm gonna have to get a charger and then just plug it in, because I think what happens is the computer just turns off after a certain amount of time of inactivity, and then it just doesn't charge. So then when I turn it back on, obviously, got myself a situation.
That's a face. That's a face.
Yeah, it's something. That's probably the right face if we're being honest. That's where I'm at. That's about where I'm at.
Unless Jonathan India goes yard, that's the.
If you're streaming the Reds games, you're probably from cable. You're probably every bit of a 45 seconds to somewhere about 45 seconds to a minute behind, maybe. I'm streaming it, so I'm probably behind everybody. They're probably watching India strike out or something, and I'm just sitting here with hope. I still have hope.
Yeah, I haven't got a strikeout yet. I got a 3-2 count. So
all right,
let's see if we can get it here.
I mean, what are we supposed to do, man? I mean, this is getting a little absurd at this point. We can't find a way just to hold on to a lead just one time on accident. You know, most of the time you go out there and you throw batting practice and you guys don't hit home runs the way they've been hitting home runs. His camera died. This is going to be an awesome show. Just let it live, Dick. Just let it live in infamy.
Let's ride. Let's
man.
Let
the imaging webcam just sit. Just it is what it is. India's still batting. He's fighting. He's battling. People are going to come into this stream for the first time and just be like, what is going on with this mess? I'm gonna have to go get a charger. I hate to be that guy, but that's just what's gonna have to happen. Don't ruin it for me. If he hit a home run, I hope to God he hit a home run. Please tell me he hit a home run.
Wait, I died too. What?
It's got a negative charge. Just let it live. Just let it live, Nick. It is what it is.
Wow. Oh, there we go.
Damn, dude. All right, guys. I don't know how long we're going to do this one tonight, but I'm going to run this intro, and we're going to get on with it. This is just this hurts. I'm glad you can't see my face right now. It's bad. I'm down bad, guys. I need a little pick me up in the chat tonight. You know what I'm saying? When your best friend's going through a rough time, sometimes you just gotta, even though you don't feel like good, I need some help. All right, I'm going to start this bad boy up. We're going to run this intro, and we're going to get on with it.
Laser glove, slow to first, and Homer failing for the second time in his major league career. It's tossed to nowhere. Oh, gosh. Oh, my God. Are you kidding me? Holy Moses, the second player in major league history to hit 7 home runs in the first 10 games. In the air, and the Reds win it. What a dream beginning to the career of Jay Bruce.
All right, welcome into Chatterbox Reds post-game edition. We are losers again, 5-4 to the Atlanta Braves. I know that our cameras aren't working. It's not been the best night so far. I do think, on a positive note, our cameras, they're young, they're playing well. They're probably going to find a way to get charged for the next show. By the time the next show rolls around, hopefully we can get a little bit better with that, and we'll be back on track. Seems to be fitting with the show, so I'll keep that as maybe the intro. Nick, losers of 5-4. I know we'll probably get into a little bit of a more box score recap as we go along, but Cincinnati jumps out on top 2-0. Top of the first, feeling pretty good. Hunter Green gets out of a jam in the bottom of the first, but then in the bottom of the second, Atlanta gets 2 back. Each team trades a run in the top in the third inning, top of the third and the bottom of the third, 1-1. So at that point, you're knotted 3-3. Seventh, they trade runs again, 1-1, and then the eighth innings, the difference maker, the Reds again. Call it how you want it, but they blow another lead late in the game, lose 5-4. They did get out hit 9-6, and Buck Farmer, man, good for him. Got 3 losses on the year. That's let's see here, 11 games in, 3 losses. That's pretty impressive. You got to give it to him, Nick. Thoughts? Nick? Oh no, did I lose you? Man. Did you mute yourself? Maybe? Oh no, we've lost Nick. Cameras aren't working. If this is your first time tuning in, I promise you, usually it's better than this. Let me see here if I can get you in here, Nick. Hold on.
Can you see me now?
I can hear you now.
All right.
All right.
I actually see myself. I don't know if anyone.
No, you're good. Your camera's working for now, but your microphone was muted or something was going on. All right, let me try this. Run this back to you again, Nick. You ready? Your overall thoughts. Go.
Hunter Green, baby. I mean, he was great. I thought he had just a really, really strong performance tonight. I mean, that's first and foremost, what I'm going to be looking at each and every one of these games. I thought his overall performance was much better than like what his final line of 6 innings, 7 hits, 3 runs, 0 walks, 10 strikeouts. The ball that he gave to Acuna, the 2 RBI double or 2 RBI single. It was a great swing by Acuna, but man, that ball was not hard hit. I'm just, I'm really happy to see him turning a corner. Look, it stinks that the Reds have lost all these 1-run games, but I was here last April. I watched every single one of these games, and it was a much different vibe and a much different effort every night. And I get people don't want moral victories, but for me, I think overall the Reds are playing decent baseball. It's just nothing like last April, and I mean that's kind of I guess where I'm at and where I'm hanging my head.
Yep, there goes your camera as well, because these cameras are what they are. They're nice until you don't charge them, and then they don't work. But we're going to keep this going audio only for the most part. Obviously here you can see the graphic J-bar. Hunter Green, he did throw well. I wouldn't say he was great's a strong word. I don't know if that's the word I would use, but I think he was good. I think it's much improved over the previous outings. Gutted through a couple tough stretches. He could have lost control a little bit, but he didn't. At this point, it kind of starts to harken back to what maybe some of the pessimistic folks from time to time do bring up, and there's some merit to what they say. I don't think that by any stretch of the imagination that losing doesn't affect affect anyone at that point. Like you can start to obtain a losing culture. You can start to, and this goes back to my quote unquote leadership style of David Bell. And I don't know. Let me be very clear when I'm getting ready to say, I don't think it's fair to criticize and judge David Bell on an X's and O's standpoint on the decisions that he makes all the time based off the personnel that he has. However, I do think it's ludicrous when you decide to pinch hit Kevin Newman, of all people, to hit for Jake Fraley when Fraley arguably is one of the best hitters you've had all year. That was yesterday. And then today, I don't know if there's any specific decisions that he made that quote-unquote lost the game. And I know what you had mentioned in regards to Spencer Steer not playing, and we'll get into that in just a minute. But there needs to be a sense of urgency to win these games, and I hope to God he doesn't go back into that little cubbyhole he was in yesterday and start mumbling basically mumbling through an interview. I'd like to just see a little more passion, Nick. Just a little more. And maybe that's a facade. I don't know. But it would make me feel a little bit better. I know you might not feel that way, so you can push back on that. That's my natural instinct and gut reaction when it comes to this whole situation. I want somebody to be a little fired up about this. I know that they're not supposed to win many games this year, but at some point, when the rubber meets the road, I would like to see somebody just get fired up.
I'll give you David Bell if it doesn't bother me that much, but I get it. I think it would be nice to see him, maybe a little more upset for some of these losses. maybe treat some of these losses the way he treats umpires when he has a call not go his way. I will push back on Green though. I mean, 10 strikeouts, 0 walks. We talked about it yesterday, Trace. This is the NL favorite to win the World Series. I thought this was a really, really good performance by him. I think Ronald Acuna Jr. had one really nice swing on a good pitch that was just barely able to get up the middle. And if that ball doesn't go through, it's 6 innings, 1 run, and it really looks like a great line. So 17 swing and misses tonight, topped out 101.7. To me, it's Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, and Graham Ashcraft, what they've done here to start the season. That, to me, is what I'm focused on more than a team that we didn't expect to win more than 70, 75 games. That's what I'm looking at right now.
Yeah, and that's I'm not going to sit here and try to pick apart his outing and whether or not it was quote unquote great or whether it was good. I think that's relative semantics. That's just pure definition of what your definition of great is and what my definition of great is. And it's not. I'm not saying it's that far off of great. At the end of the day, and that's one for the dollar of the jar there for me and my my speakisms, if you will. And I will do my best to try to not use those as much, but when you talk as much as I do, you get to where you have these crutches. Strider did get chased, though. That's the next thing on the graphic, Nick. That was optimistic. Listen, the crazy thing is I know that many of you may not be gamblers, and that's perfectly fine. This show is brought to you by Betfred Sportsbook, the Sportsbook of Cincinnati. And if you have a gambling problem, as always, call 1-800-GAMBLER, 21 plus in Ohio. The thing that I wanted to bring up about this is that today the Cincinnati Reds to win this game was like plus 225, somewhere in that ballpark, before the game started, obviously on a money line. The odds for the Braves to win the National League is like plus 300. Not that that's really close. There's still 75 points worth of juice there, but it is close enough to bring up in the standpoint that the Reds winning this game was almost about the same odds as the Braves to win the whole entire National League, which seems absurd and ridiculous. But that's the hole that they were in when they walked out there today, and that's where the last 2 games, Ashcraft's performance, right, and then yesterday with the bullpen blow, we felt like we needed one of those games to kind of just keep this thing on the track. And we're starting to slip away from that quote-unquote 500 record we were hoping for, and I don't have an answer for it. I really don't. I think that any kind of quote unquote answer that maybe we're all looking for would be a little bit of an overreaction outside of maybe Will Myers having a day off would be nice. I think it's time for Benson probably to find himself a situation where maybe he can get back on track somewhere else. Probably AAA is my thought. But I don't know. I mean, when the cupboard's bare, it's bare. You know, when the well's dry, it's dry. I just don't know how good this team is, and I keep hearkening back to that.
Yeah, on Spencer Strider, I mean, that guy is a really good pitcher. He made 20 starts last year. He only had 3 starts where he gave up 3 runs or more. So the fact that the Reds were able to get 3 runs off him, get him chased after 5, I thought they had some really good at bats. Even guys like Jason Vossler that didn't do anything, that struck out, really worked the count. Strider was up right around 100 pitches. They pulled him after 5, and where you're just such a heavy underdog, like you just mentioned. So I thought overall it was a pretty good performance from the offense. I mean, there's definitely some holes in the lineup right now. There's no question about that. Foster, like I just mentioned, is just really, really struggling. Barrero had a pretty rough night tonight, but again, it's the quality of a pitcher they're facing is extraordinary. So I don't know if I'd make too much about those guys, tonight. I thought it was honestly a good game to give Steer the day off. I know people hate that when he's hot, but he's played all 10 games. He needs a day off at some point. I guess you could have played him. I mean, they're not going to play these guys. They're going to give them probably one day off every 10 games all year. That's not just the Reds. That's how most teams, I think, manage their young players. I thought this was a good spot to give him a day off. I guess he could go out and go 0 for 4.
I mean, but that's only playing one side of the coin a little bit, Nick, because, I mean, at the same time, like a guy that's playing relatively well and you're in a spot where you're trying to get you need a little bit of a win just to kind of keep the mojo. You're trying to keep the clubhouse intact. I know I'm not saying they're going to lose the clubhouse if they get swept by the Braves, but at some point, this thing starts to trickle down the road where it's all in. We're trying to win a game, and then at some point, maybe down the road when we win that game or something else, like maybe we take a break. But I mean, and maybe I'm being like too old school and thinking like Cal Ripken played how many games in a row, and I mean he's relatively fine. I think the kid's pretty young. I don't know how many days off he theoretically needs, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm not saying what you're saying is actually all that crazy. I just think the Reds are in a spot right now, Nick, where we need to win a game. And it's not even a matter of like, I don't know what the right word is to use, but like there just needs to be a little sense of urgency. That's what a winning culture is, in a little bit of a way. It's like there needs to be a little bit of accountability from the standpoint that I don't care if we were picked to win whatever, how many games, 68. If I'm the manager, I'm managing like we're supposed to win, the pennant. That's how I would manage. Doesn't mean that's right, wrong, or indifferent. And I don't think asking Spencer to go out there and play one more game is really risking a whole lot. However, I get your point. Nick. I think it would have been a tough ask of him, right? But if you also dug into the analytics, TJ Friedel probably wasn't supposed to get a hit off the left-hander that gave us the lead either. I would also say yesterday, when you just get behind. This is the question I would pose back to you, Nick. If we're going to basically just do everything that everyone else does, and analytically we're just going to do whatever the book says, then why is David Bell the manager? Because truth be told, unless I'm completely off base, he doesn't seem like a guy when I see him talk to the media. He doesn't look like a guy that's going to really rally the troops. And if it's just going to come down to an analytical decision every time, well, then just have a guy sit there on the bench and open up the little textbook, and he'll tell everybody what we're doing. Is that fair or not? I mean, maybe I'm being completely crazy, but I'm just saying, like, I'm a little frustrated that we're not trying to just play our best guys until we maybe break this streak.
Yeah, I mean, I hear you on that. I would say with David Bell, though, I mean, the players love playing for David Bell. Now, I mean, people can, poo on that if you want, but I've never heard a player say a bad word about David Bell. When he got hired, there was so many guys that he managed in the minor leagues that came out and said how happy they were that he got this chance, this opportunity, and how much they really love playing for him in the minor leagues. And how much is that worth? I don't know. I think there's so much to managing that we don't see. It's managing these personalities, and I mean, overall, I think that Bell does a good job of that. The rah rah and all that kind of stuff. That's probably mostly just a curtain. It's not really anything that I think determines how good or bad of a manager he is. That's just how he acts with the media. I don't know. Spencer Steer, like, I love Spencer Steer. I'm really excited about him, but I also think we're making a lot about 10 games here. Uh, he's off to an incredible start. Don't get me wrong, but Spencer Steer was a guy that was just slightly above average as a hitter last year against right-handed pitching. I think this was a good spot to give him a day off. Hopefully he comes back tomorrow against a lefty. The Reds are facing a left-handed pitcher tomorrow, and can kind of keep that hot streak that he's going. I just think you could have put him in the lineup today, and he goes 0 for 4, and then, well, you just cooled him off yourself. One quick point on Friedel, though. Friedel's the one unicorn in this lineup that actually, in his minor league career, hit left-handed pitching better than right-handed pitching. So he is a little bit different in that regard. Like Jake Fraley, I mean, he has 3 or 4 years in the minor leagues where he was a below-average hitter in the minor leagues against left-handed pitching. So I think Friedel's a little bit different than kind of everyone else, even like Joey Votto when he comes back.
I think that I understand the logic that you're trying to exude, and it doesn't mean that I'm right or you're wrong. I guess I just sit back and I would ask the question. Sometimes, like Michael Conley Jr. last night, I'll use another basketball reference. Why not? We do this every show. Nick, he went 6 for 7 from 3 last night. He doesn't shoot the 3 ball that well, but you know what? That night he was shooting the 3 ball really, really well. Sometimes the quote-unquote law of big numbers, it doesn't make sense in the short interim. Like, if a guy's hot during a basketball game, sometimes you go to the guy that's hot at the end of the game. You don't go to the best three-point shooter because you're going to the guy that's hot right now. And that's kind of where I'm coming from. Yeah, over the course of 2 years or over the course of 900 at-bats, yeah, maybe Fraley would get 5 less hits or 10 less hits over 800 at-bats or whatever it would be than Kevin Newman would off the same situation. But I got a guy that just basically has, had big hit after big hit after big hit, and the other guy couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat. And neither could Will Benson. It ain't like we're replacing Steer with a guy that's, been relatively useful, or we're not replacing Fraley with a guy that's been relatively useful. So I get the logic. I'm not saying that you're wrong. Maybe perhaps if you play Steer, he goes 0 for 4, he has 4 strikeouts, and it wouldn't have mattered. And the next thing you know, his confidence isn't there. And I think that's all maybe a relatively fair point. But I'd like to find that out first. I'd like to see him struggle against maybe a big-time arm before I just assume that he's going to struggle, and I just run out Will Benson, who's hitting .0 whatever he's hitting at this point. That's where we're at. So that's it. And I think that's a debate that me and you could theoretically go on for hours and hours and hours, and I'm not sure that there's anybody that would be right or wrong in the whole thing, Nick. I don't think that neither one of us, quite frankly, have the ability to prove ourselves right or prove you wrong. You know what I'm saying? So it is what it is. That's another dollar in the jar, and we'll move on to let's talk about Ian Happ extension. You have that in the J Bar. Your overall thoughts on that, because I think that you were excited that Ian Happ might be a Red.
Yeah, I would have loved that contract for the Reds. Yeah, that's a really 3 years, $60 million. I love that contract for the Cubs. I hate to say it. That's the kind of contract that, man, I'm looking at that I want the Reds to be getting some of their guys. Not these absorbent contracts into 35, mid-30s. Contract. Happ is 29 years old through 31. man, that's just I can't believe that the Cubs were able to pull that off without going any further years. So yeah, I just thought that was I thought that was worth mentioning. Do you have any thoughts on that extension?
No, I haven't had a chance to really dissect through that and give you an honest opinion of what I feel about Ian Happ. I know that he's had incredible success at Great American Ballpark. He's been a quote-unquote Reds killer, Lance Berkman style, OG Reds killer. I just, like I said before, would like to get clarity on what we have towards the end of this year. There's no question in my mind this ownership group and front office isn't going to try to go out and do their best they can to shore up this bullpen because they've had struggles the past couple of years, and you can like it or not, Nick, but there's going to be a little bit of a PR situation going on with that, and I know that maybe that won't play into the fact of who we pick up and who we don't pick up anymore, but I think it's done that a little bit in the past. I don't know what your opinion on that is, but I know it'd be interesting to see what we do in free agency next year, but we have a long year to go. And I'd like to see if we can't maybe bring up some young guys and throw them in the bullpen. And I know what I'm going to hear. I'm going to hear they might lose their confidence, and they might, we bring them up here, and we don't want to give up on them as a starting pitcher. But I'd like to see accountability. That's all. If you can't do your job well, we'll find somebody else and see if they can do it well. If you don't have a proven track record of over maybe a year or 2 years, then your leash isn't going to be incredibly long because more than likely there's options available. And some of these guys, if they don't have options, I'm not sure if they get picked up if they get sent down anyways. So, not to go on a tangent there when you asked me about Ian Happ, but that's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah, one other thing worth mentioning tonight. I mean, I think the worst spot of the whole game was Ian Jabot, and he did rebound nice. He did have 2 strikeouts, but man, you cannot walk Sam Hilliard, the number 9 hitter, leadoff batter. You just were able to take the lead with Ronald Acuna Jr. on deck. Sam Hilliard had a 48 OPS plus last year. Man, you got to make him beat you. If you have to throw the ball right down the middle of the plate, hell, throw it right down the middle of the plate. You cannot walk that guy in that spot. And I mean, that's kind of where, like, what's David Bell supposed to do? Like, Ian Jabot is one of his better relievers, whether we like it or not. I mean, I guess maybe, was it the 7th inning there? I mean, I guess maybe you say, well, we'll have use Alexis Diaz, but you're really getting into, that early in the game. But yeah, I just that's the most crushing thing of the night to me. Yeah. Was just that walk.
It doesn't feel like it's just him though. It really doesn't feel like it's just him. I mean, the past few nights, it feels like these relievers, when the bullpen door opens, we walk guys in critical moments, and it happened on opening day too. I mean, basically, the reason that Cruz was so poor is he couldn't throw the ball over the plate, and I don't know, I don't know anything that's more fundamental than throwing strikes. That's if we're getting down to it, that's the most basic thing the pitcher is asked to do. We can all get upset that guys don't execute pitches and they get hit hard. But when you can't, I mean, it's not even that they're walking guys after 7, 8, 9 pitch at bats and guys are battling. We're just walking guys on 4 pitches. So that's where, again, I don't know what it is. It's. I'll tell you this, Nick. I've always, and I have done this for the past few years, I've done this even before with Reds, is I've always given them the benefit of the doubt, and I've said, you know what, at the end of it, the players are the players, and they got to make pitches, and at some point, I just wonder if it's a culture thing, and that's hard for me to believe because I've been a part of organizations and stuff, and it's hard for me to believe that the culture is set up to where guys just come over here and they forget how to throw strikes. But my gosh, I'll tell you this. It enters my mind. I'll leave it at that. It enters my mind. I wonder how this happens over and over again. It might just be because we don't have good enough players, Nick. That might be what it is too, to be fair.
I think that's
Go ahead.
think that's why a lot of these guys are in the Reds bullpen. I mean, Ian Jabot and Buck Farmer and Derek Law, and I'm not 100% sure how Fernando Cruz came to the Reds, but those guys were all waiver claims. Ian Jabot and Buck Farmer have good stuff. You know, they have the kind of stuff that can get guys out. That you see it's evidence in their strikeout numbers. But the reason they've been dropped by other teams is because they walk too many guys. I mean, that's why the Reds have them. Reds are hoping they can, fix them. And I don't think there's anything wrong with taking some reclamation projects when you're where you're at. A guy that the Reds tossed aside, I don't know if you remember him, Trace, Senal Perez was like the worst of all of them. Couldn't throw a strike at all, and then figured it out last year with the Orioles and was one of their best relievers. So, man, relievers are just so fickle. The Reds got to do a better job of developing their own relievers coming up through the pipeline, which I think they're doing a pretty good job of right now. At least I'm hopeful with some of the pitchers that they've had, that they've recently acquired, and some of the things I'm seeing, when I turn on some of these minor league games. But the Reds need less. The Reds need less reclamation projects in their bullpen. You can't have 4 or 5 of them. You can get by with 1, 2. They just have too many of them, and that's what we're seeing. I mean, we're just seeing that kind of come to fruition.
Yeah, I was gonna say it feels like that. I mean, basically, sound like a junior college to a certain extent.
Yeah,
you need to find somewhere to bounce back, or you need somewhere to go to try to earn some trust, or improve your game. Come on down to the Cincinnati Reds bullpen. You got some Reds MILB stuff? I put you on the spot there, or you got that ready to rock?
Trace, I'm ready to rock.
Go for it.
Some Reds minor league talk. Got a lot of questions about Nick Senzel, so I'll jump right to him. Louisville lost again, 7-1. They are playing some bad baseball, but help was hopefully going to be on the way for them with Ellie De La Cruz and Christian Encarnacion Strand hopefully joining them soon. No timetable yet, but Nick Senzel 0 for 3, but he did walk twice. So he's continuing to play pretty well. Maybe he will get activated, when the Reds are back tomorrow. That's possible. I don't know. I think they may ride out his whole 20 days. Do you have any thoughts on that before I go anywhere else?
No, I
don't care. It kind of is what it is.
Yeah, I'm not going to say the word, because if I do, it's going to say that guy that said he's going to take a shot every time I say it is what it is. He's going to be feeling pretty good tonight, but that's how I feel about it. Yeah.
It honestly with Senzel, it is what it is. Like, if they call him up tomorrow, okay, great. If they don't, okay, great. Like, it's not gonna. I have no opinion one way or the other.
Not sure it's moving the needle, Nick.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I like what he's done in AAA. I'm not holding my breath that he can replicate that in the majors, but if he does, that would be fantastic. That would be awesome, and that would be a big, big boost for the Reds this season. Other guys in AAA, Joey Votto, he had a much-needed, really, really good day. 1 for 1, but he walked 3 times, so he reached base on all 4 trips to the plate. So that's good to see. Could he be on the way soon? I don't think so. I think Joey's gonna want to feel a little bit better before he comes up, but we've seen Joey kind of pull these weird decisions that don't really make sense. Trace, you'll like this. Matt McClain, he got off the schneid, 1 for 4, and did his 0 for 20. So good to see Matt McClain get a hit. Lucas Sims pitched tonight, scoreless inning.
There we go.
One walk though, 2 strikeouts. So hopefully Lucas is up soon. I would think he's probably still going to a couple more. I mean, this is still like his spring training.
If he's got a pulse, if he's got a pulse, and he theoretically wasn't going to get hurt, I'd send him up yesterday. But yeah, I know you can't do that. I know you just try to make sure he's healthy. But I mean, I don't know. You're throwing pitches in AAA. Do you think there's that big of a difference at throwing them at the big league level? Maybe you throw the ball a little bit harder. You got some adrenaline or whatever, but
I don't want to say it because I feel you're gonna kill me. But
go ahead.
I think they want Lucas Sims to be comfortable when he comes to the major leagues.
Oh yeah, I mean, heaven forbid. I mean, Jiminy Christmas, heaven forbid. I mean, like, you know, this. I'll tell you what, this management group and the ownership and David Bell, they're the kind of guy that comes to the grandkids when they come over, and you know, it's like, hi, do you need any cookies? I got some milk in there. I just went to the store and got you 5 different things of pop. And are you hot? Are you cold? You need me to turn the thermostat on? Would you like me to put the air on? You need me to open the windows? I'm here for you. Want to make sure everything's okay.
Oh boy, I knew it was coming. And then lastly, in AAA, before we move on, Levi Stout, very disappointing outing from him. A guy that we're really kind of getting excited about is maybe a guy that could join the Reds rotation at some point. 2 2/3 innings, 4 earned runs, walked 3, gave up 2 bombs. So not a good night for him. I don't know if it went final. Chattanooga was down 8-4. Noel V. Marte was 1 for 4. Really disappointing performance. Christian Roa made his season debut. He's a starting pitcher. He was the Reds' 2nd-round pick back in 2020. Kind of hoping that he could have a big year this year and maybe work his way towards the big leagues. But he didn't make it out of the first inning. Gave up 5 runs, walked 4 batters. So really rough night for him. Dayton was up 7-3. Again, I had all this stuff up, but then our camera situation kind of jacked everything up. They were up 7-3 in the top of the 9th. Austin Hendrick, 1 for 4 with a double. Tyler Callahan, a guy that I'm really liking what I've seen so far earlier this year. He hit a grand slam and also had a walk. And then Edwin Arroyo did not play, still dealing with his groin injury. And then the Daytona Tortugas, Trace, they were down 5-0. They were down 5-0 in the 3rd inning, scored 7 unanswered runs. They won 7-6 over Palm Beach. Hector Rodriguez hit a home run for a 2nd straight day. Guy I mentioned yesterday acquired for Tyler Naquin. Sal Stewart on base 3 times. Cam Collar did not play. So that is your Reds minor league recap of the night presented by Betfred Sportsbook.
Beautiful. Some positives. Want some positives? I'll give you some positives. Ready for it?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
TJ Friedel, he's fun. And he's starting to play. He's playing well. Looks like a guy that, I mean, I don't want to say it yet. Because I don't know if he's earned the right for me to say this, but he's starting to look like we might have a center fielder. We might have one. And if we do have one, it'd be the first time we have one in a really long time. So that's that.
Yeah, I mean, 2 hits off Strider, a hit off a lefty, and I know he does hit lefties much better than a lot of left-handed batters. But I tell you, I cannot be more impressed with what he's done. And he's a guy. I keep saying it, man. He looked really, really bad last April, and he was able to figure it out. So. I encourage. I know it's hard. Have some patience with some of these other guys. You know.
Well, I think you're going to get patience, Nick. Listen. I think you're going to get. Don't think that there's not some patience out there in Reds country for some of these younger guys. I think that that is the case. Will Benson's hitting 0.50. You're when you're in a big league uniform and you're a professional athlete, you're going to get crushed regardless for that. Will Myers comes over here as a above average hitter, we're told, and like you said, he's going to have a higher OPS plus than Spencer Steer is by the end of the year, and maybe he turns it around. But right now he's hitting $175, so he's hitting probably under his weight. I haven't checked his weight recently, but I'd assume he weighs probably a little bit more than 175. So then you got Vossler, he's hitting 167. Jose Barrero, he's hitting at the Mendoza line. So I think that there's a reason for some of these people to get frustrated, and you add in the fact that they've been miserable for many of years. I give them a pass. This is where I don't give people a pass. I don't think you could just go off the reservation and start saying that, oh my gosh, if we need to go out and spend money on a bullpen because we would be, look at all these games we would have won this year and we would be competitive and we might make the playoffs. That's taking it a little too far for me. I don't think that we're that good of a club. But you never know. I mean, to be fair to them, maybe they would be better than I thought if they had a bullpen. Anything else to add? I do want to answer a question we got on Twitter. TBRM 2.0. I'm assuming that's the Big Red Machine 2.0. He asks,
loyal listener.
Yes, and we appreciate all of our loyals. We got many of them in the chat already. We've had some fun. OJ Broncos catching some heat tonight. We you know what? We here's where Reds country is, and this is where our chat is right now. We've been in a car with 3 to 4 kids for about 4.5, 5 hours. We're getting a little tired, getting a little chippy, right? And we're all we're ready to get out of the car. And that basically is a win. We need to get a win. That's what we're looking for. And we'd like to maybe have a little bit of a sense of urgency for some of us. All right, anyway, he asked the question. When the rotation's figured out, with injuries coming back soon, is that 4th, 5th guy, and he's talking about the starters, the 4th, 5th guy, I'm going to read it just as he said, aren't guys that can go the distance often with high talent like the front end. Would it be smart for the Reds to do a bullpen for those? Then the starter can come in after later in the game. Maybe that would relieve some pressure on the starter, especially if the bullpen was solid with some of the options coming back. So essentially at that point, you're throwing a bullpen day. I think,
do you think he's asking that more as an opener?
Yeah, he's asking it as an opener, but here's my only thought back to the opener. Is that those guys on the back end still have to throw probably Nick, 4 innings? So it's just like, I think you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't in that situation. I do like an opener in the situation that the Reds were in years ago when they were in the playoffs, where they do have a quote-unquote good bullpen, and you're in a one-game must-win, or you're in a game situation where if you win, you move on, or whatever that may be. I'm more apt to the idea of doing a opener and a bullpen day, if you will, in a situation like that. I don't really like doing that over 162 because, for all intents and purposes, what happens if let's say the bullpen does great. What inning are you going to bring in Sessa? Tell me the inning that you bring in Sessa, Nick.
So, I mean, I guess it just depends how good your opener does. I don't know if your opener goes 1 inning, then you bring in Sessa. I could see it maybe having some value in terms of like if a team has a lot of like left-right matchups to where in the first inning, like the Phillies, for example, they're going to have Kyle Schwarber batting second. So what you could do is you could have Sessa come in the second inning, and he essentially avoids facing Kyle Schwarber one time, and you open the game with Alex Young, right? So, I mean, I think that's maybe a way to get one better matchup for you. Not sure that move's going to move the needle all that much. Yeah. I like the idea. I like the idea. I think it's creative. I have no problem with the Reds doing some creative things like that. I know they tried last year with Sessa to do that, and against the Dodgers, and I think whoever the opener was got crushed. Or no, they did it with Sessa was the opener last year. Remember, it's hard to even remember that Reaver San Martin opened this season last year, the Reds rotation. And so they tried Sessa as the opener. Sessa got rocked. And then Reaver San Martin, who they brought as an opener because he pitched really bad in his first game, he pitched like this really great, like 4 2/3 innings, but it didn't matter because the Reds were already down like 4-0. So I could see something like that again, like if you're talking, does Overton pitch against the Phillies? I could see, maybe you start Alex Young, you get one less at bat against Schwarber. I wouldn't have an issue with that, and but I just don't think it moves the needle all that much.
Yeah, it reminds me of a team that's severely outmatched that starts to try to find just quirky ways to try to maybe squeak out a win when they know that if they just played by the regular standard rules, that they'd have little to no chance. Stall ball, whatever term you'd like to use. But I do like the idea of throwing an opener or throwing backwards, whatever term you want to use, in situations that you are playing for something significantly meaningful and you know you have a good pin and you're just in a weird spot like back when the Reds were playing the Giants and we threw why can't I think of the kid's name? He came
Late
right
toast.
up. Yeah, no. The game before.
Oh, Leak. Yeah. Leak
So
it.
like Leak, who at that point came up immediately that year, didn't do terrible, Nick, but and I know
that was his worst. It was his worst year in the big leagues by far.
And hindsight's always 2020. You could say, well, if Leak went out there and threw 5 scoreless innings, you wouldn't be able to say this. But I just think if you're in a spot like that, Nick, I'm okay with saying, okay, let's throw a good amount of guys on the bullpen, and then maybe the next day you got one of your big dogs going, and you might not need a bullpen as much. So. So I think that answers the question. Doesn't look like there's a whole lot going on else in the chat. Obviously, there's some frustration. There's some people that are, have some insightful thoughts. And why don't you tell us and all of our listeners who the tomorrow starters are going to be?
Yeah, so, hey, Nick Lodolo Day, excited to see him get another chance to pitch. He's been just outstanding. It'd be interesting, Trace. I wanted to get your thoughts on this before we wrap this up. I'm interested to see Nick Lodolo facing the same team twice in a week and what kind of adjustments that he's able to make, what adjustments the Phillies are able to make against him. And then the same goes for Bailey Falter, who the Reds just saw. I'm always very fascinated when you have the same repeat matchup like 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah, it kind of it would resemble maybe a playoff series that goes, 6 games or 5 games if someone throws on short rest, right? 6 or 7 games, whatever it may be. So it could resemble that a little bit. I guess I'd be curious as well. Lodolo's he's so far in a league of his own, and hopefully he continues to have incredible success. And I think it'd be interesting. I honestly suspect that Lodolo's going to have to come down a little bit. Not trying to be pessimistic, but usually, water levels always finds its level. And if Lodolo keeps up what he's been doing, I mean, hell, he's going to win Cy Young. So I suspect it to level out a little bit, Nick. I'm hoping it's not going to be tomorrow, but you never know. We'll see.
Yeah, the Phillies are coming off back-to-back losses to the Marlins, so be an interesting series. The Phillies, that's a team that not off to a great start, so they really need these games. Man, it doesn't get much easier for the Reds though. 4 with the Phillies at home, then 3 with the Rays at home. Now I know we talked about hopefully we're getting the Rays at the right time. But then after that, we do get 4 games against the Pirates. So hopefully the Reds can get some good winning baseball, and then maybe beat up on the Pirates. They're without O'Neal Cruz, and hopefully at least kind of get through this April. I don't think they have to get to 500, but man, it would be nice to see them at least in the ballpark for sure.
Yeah, and the final note that I'm going to make that I think that is relatively fair, RM in the chat points out 2 of the 3 starters the Reds have faced in this series against Atlanta were 2020 draft picks. The Braves only had 4 picks in 2020, and 2 of them are starting pitchers in their major league team. Listen, the Braves have done an unbelievable job. Not only have they spent some money and they've signed some guys, but they've developed really, really well. They've and that's what it's going to take from the Reds' perspective to probably get back where we all want them to be, and we know that. I think the Rays are a little bit of a unicorn, and I also think that Atlanta's been smart too, Nick. Like, let's not forget, like, they let Freddie Freeman go, right? Or at least like that's you could. I don't know how you want to. If you go read the articles, you don't know who's telling the truth. But it seemed like maybe they let Freeman go, they let Swanson go, and they're doing just fine. So we need to remember that maybe down the road here, where if we get ourselves in a position where we're playing competitive baseball, we need to continue to make sure that if we're not willing to overpay somebody, that we have somebody that's going to be competent to replace them when the time comes. So, but again, I'm going to say this every single night because I genuinely mean it. This team is a team that lost 100 games last year, our podcast numbers do incredibly well. We're incredibly appreciative of everybody that listens to us loyally. We'll have fun. We'll go back and forth. My thoughts, my opinions, my viewpoints differ a little bit than Nick's, and Nick's viewpoints are very set in stone in their sound and judgment. And like I said before, we're never going to make this personal. It's not even that important to make personal. So I would say the same thing to you in the chat. We obviously are going to disagree on certain subjects. When times are tough, it definitely raises the bar of perhaps us wanting to get frustrated even more at each other. But at the end of the day, we all love the Cincinnati Reds. They need to put a better product on the field. We all would agree on that, and it's a matter of us starting to hopefully this year see that. And that has been the goal since we started this podcast. We'll keep you informed. We'll have fun. We'll suffer through this together from time to time. And that's just where we're at as a franchise at this very moment. But as many maybe have said in the offseason, there's really only one way to go, guys, and that's up. It really can't get much worse from here. It can't. It really can't. We're going to get our cameras figured out for next show. I'm going to go and just plug mine in and charge it so it doesn't die on me. And Kirby, maybe we'll figure out a way to do the same, and we'll be back, as always, better than ever tomorrow. Nick, I don't know if you got the graphics, but go ahead. I'll give us the good old preview, as we always do. Listen, tomorrow you can watch it every single day, Monday through Friday, off the bench from 10 a.m. till noon. Special days, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday as well. There are some other shows, Box Lunch, Not Too Picky. You might just click around our YouTube if you're just tuning in or you're just checking us out. You can also, if you listen to us in podcast fashion, click on Chatterbox Sports, check out the other podcasts. But as always, please continue to spread the message. Like, for us to continue to do this, our numbers have to be relatively decent, obviously, to make the finances of doing all this make sense. And you just listening does more than you know. Asking somebody, telling somebody about it is something that we will always appreciate, and I really thank you for that. So go download the podcast. Please rate it. Give us a review. There hasn't been a review come in a while, so if you've been listening to us, you like it. If you don't like it, give us a review. But as always, go Reds. We'll see you tomorrow.